Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Conversations and Chai with Lubna. And last week we learned a lot about Islamic Relief Canada. And this week, continuation of the charities that are Canadian, we'll be talking to National Zakat Foundation, which is also another Canadian charity. So let's meet our guest for today, whose name is Zaid Mirza. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome, Zaid. How are you today? Nice to have you on our show.
I'm very good. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the time.
No problem. So why don't we start off with a brief introduction about yourself, please?
Yeah, my name is Zaid Mirza. I'm the National Manager for National Zakat Foundation. I've been with the organization for about 7 years now. So I have quite a bit of experience when it comes to social services and customer service before that as well. I come from a background in business and economics. So I continue to use some of the principles that I've learned throughout my career with respect to business management to this day in working for National Zakat Foundation. This is my full-time job. This is my career. So I focus a lot of my time on this.
That's fantastic. So that's good to have your introduction. And before we jump right into it, we'll be right back. Okay, Zaid. So let's tell the viewers what exactly is National Zakat Foundation. A lot of people actually don't even know it exists and what it is. So let's start with that first. Brief history and so on.
Yeah, so National Zakat Foundation is a Canadian registered charity. So we are a not-for-profit that has a registration with the CRA. And our main purpose is to establish Zakah, which is one of the pillars of Islam, across Canada, right? So what that means is that it makes us in two types of organizations. So on the one hand, we are a faith-based organization, which is built on the tenets of the Islamic faith, but we're also a social service organization. And as such, we utilize Zakat funds and other charitable donations throughout the year to provide financial assistance to those in need. And the type of financial assistance we're talking about is specific to essentials of life, right? So someone who requires housing expenses, food, clothing, other basic necessities that we consider to be essentials.
Right.
So that is sort of in a nutshell what NZF is.
Okay. So when was this not-for-profit established?
The not-for-profit was established back in 2013 as a corporation, right? 2013, just around the corner of 2013, 2014. It was a very small organization at that time. It was a grassroots organization just based out of Mississauga, Ontario. A few people from the Greater Toronto area came together and launched this initiative. And by 2017, we had received our charitable status.
That's good to know. Perfect. So what I want to know is, a lot of people have this question about zakat, because like if you go and ask a scholar, Islamic scholar or an imam, he will say, for zakat, you cannot donate it to an institution, because you have to make sure that it's reputable and it's used for the right things. So do you want to just explain to the viewers, when the money comes to you, how does it become transparent so people know that the money is only used towards zakat?
Right. So that's a very interesting point. So zakat can be given directly to the one who needs, and we all know that, right? That's the essence of zakat. However, in this day and age, it can become very difficult for just a regular person to know who really is in need and to be able to go find that person, assess them for their financial requirements, their financial needs, and then give them that zakat based on what they actually require, right? So National Zakat Foundation kind of acts like an agent for those who are zakat payers. So we collect the zakat, and then we are the ones we have services across Canada in over 80 cities across the nation. People come to us and they actually make an application. Then we would sit with them and assess their needs, do a one-on-one case service, really figure out what is the root cause of their financial situation and how can we best utilize zakat to assist them. And in doing so, we ensure that the zakat recipients that our zakat will reach are of the 8 categories of zakat recipients that is allowed by the Quran and the Sunnah, right? And this is in
Right.
Surah Tawbah with the 8 categories. So we restrict our zakat to only those 8 categories.
Okay. And also if they're applicable, I guess, right? Some people, I mean, I know a lot of people who just apply, right? They have
Yeah,
to be
that happens
eligible
all the
as
time.
well.
Absolutely, that happens all the time because, like I
It
said, we
does,
are a
yes.
social service organization. People come to
Yes.
us all the time because they hear of us. They hear of us from their
Yeah.
neighbors, from their friends. So it's on us to ensure that the one who will receive the money is actually eligible to receive it, right? And if they're not
Exactly.
eligible, for whatever reason, if they're not eligible, we utilize other funds to be able to assist them. So
Right.
we don't have a situation where we're turning people away and they're still in need.
Yes, of course. So basically, people can apply, and then if they go through the process of filling out an application, then I guess a caseworker is assigned to them. She or he reviews their application, and then if they're eligible, some sort of funding is given to them to help them out with whatever their
You got
requirement
it.
is.
You got it. That is exactly what
Perfect.
the process is.
Very good. Good to know. It's a lot of time people don't understand the process, so that's why. Now let's talk about what type of projects does NZF work. Do you have any global projects, like international projects, or is it only in Canada?
National Zakat Foundation is, a Canadian charity, and our services and what we offer is across Canada only. We don't have any global projects
Okay.
because we recognize there are a lot of great organizations out there that are doing amazing work internationally. So we focus our services within Canada. So we spoke about zakat, so giving people zakat
Yeah.
when they come and they apply for it, and that's a short-term service we provide.
Right.
The second thing that we do is resource navigation through our casework services. So connecting people with other referring people to other services that are out there, and different types of support that they can get outside of National Zakat Foundation. So we work with a lot of different community partners to be able to bring that service to people. In addition to that, we do have a food distribution program. That's something we launched very, very recently. Due to the pandemic, we recognize that
What
a
is the
lot of
food
people.
distribution? What is it?
Yeah, so it basically is like a food bank, but it
Okay.
brings the food packages to the people's home instead of they having to come and pick it up in
Oh,
most
okay.
cases, right? And we saw that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of food banks were shut. They were shut down. They
Yeah.
were out of money. They did not have the resources, so they had to close their doors. So we recognized that need, and we worked with these food banks that were already existing, and we helped them sort of open up their services,
Yeah.
create these, consistent, high-quality food packages, and then utilize a volunteer base to be able
Yeah.
to, collect, pick up these items, package them nicely, and then distribute them to people's homes. Basically, anyone who's in need.
Of course. So how are you doing that, and which cities is that available in?
So currently, as per our pilot program, it was first launched in the Halton region here in Ontario, and
Yeah.
then we brought it to the Greater Toronto area. And so we're looking to expand it further into Montreal, Quebec. We're looking at Alberta as well, both Edmonton and Calgary. And inshallah, by the end of the year, our hope is to also bring it to British Columbia as well.
Okay. So basically, it's already existing food banks or other organizations who are distributing food hampers. I assume it's non-perishable food hampers, right?
Actually, that's what makes it a little bit different for us.
Okay.
For us, most of the items in the package are actually perishable, right?
Oh, okay.
Because a regular food bank, the items that they carry are canned foods a lot of the times,
Yeah.
and items that are non-perishable. Unfortunately, a lot of times they're not very high quality items, right?
Yeah.
They're sort of, you could say, refuse or something like that. Items that are unwanted or been close to their expiry date, unfortunately. So we wanted to bring something that people actually need, like halal meat and chicken and
That's amazing.
dairy products, right?
Mhm.
So our packages are we all put them together the day before they're actually distributed, and we keep them in the fridge and in the freezers. And then once they're packaged, the next day they're going out, so they don't sit on the shelves anywhere.
Okay. So is it like a meal kit? I'm not
It's like
understanding. Or it's
it's like
just
a grocery.
fresh
It's like a grocery
grocery
box.
list. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So if you and I
And
were to go do groceries, whatever we have in our shopping cart, that's what it is.
okay, got it. And do you have it in Ottawa as well?
We would love to bring that to Ottawa. This is something
Okay.
that's on the roadmap, inshallah. So we're hoping that, inshallah, by the end of the year, we'll have Ottawa, as one of the main major cities of Canada, which has a lot of
Right.
Muslim population. We would like to bring that service to Ottawa as well, inshallah.
Maybe I can connect you to a group who's already doing the non-perishable food items, and then we can get
Absolutely,
that going too.
that would
So
be
you
amazing.
mentioned
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
available in Toronto, right? Which part of Toronto is it available in?
Yeah, so it's in Mississauga,
Okay.
it's in Etobicoke, Toronto, and then there's some other cities across here, which is called,
Right.
the Greater Toronto
Greater
area. We
Toronto,
have,
yes, of course.
and then to the west of us, we have the Halton region and the Niagara region. So we've done some work there as well, alhamdulillah.
I think that's fantastic because there's a lot of people doing the non-perishable food items. So if this could be an add-on, with the perishable items, it's just perfect for like a family, especially with Ramadan just around the corner, right?
Yeah, with Ramadan, every Ramadan, we do get a lot of people coming to us
Yeah.
asking for specific assistance, and especially not just regular food items like grocery items, but halal meat. Halal meat is a
Yeah.
big ask a lot of the times from people, and
Yes.
so we're really happy that we're able to actually work with local halal Islamic businesses, right? So these are Islamic businesses that are established locally here in Canada. There's small grocery shops that are run, family operated, and so it's great for us to give them a lot of our business as well, right?
Why not?
We can always take our business to big chains, right, and they get a lot of business anyway. But supporting our local business is a huge thing when it comes to us being a national agency and a local agency.
course.
So we help people locally, and we also find a way to help local businesses.
I think it's fantastic. I love the idea. So definitely we'll be in touch with you, in connection with the other organization in Ottawa. So you mentioned that you started this food thing during COVID. Is there anything else that you guys started in COVID because of COVID? Like any extra programs?
Yes. So another thing that we're focusing on this year is our mental health services, right? As a Zakat organization that is, dealing with people that, unfortunately sometimes are in a very, very difficult situation, probably the worst situation of their life a lot of the times. And they're dealing with, a lot of pressures, a lot of stress. And in addition to that, on top of COVID, a lot of the things are just amplified, right? The mental health well-being of the individual is sometimes quite detrimental. So even though we don't have any counselors internally that provide mental health services, and that's by design, we seek out other agencies that already have great mental health services through counseling and psychotherapy, marriage counseling, etc., and empower them with zakat funds, so then the people who are going to them for support can access these services at an affordable rate. So a regular person might be able to go in and get a counseling service for $150 an hour or something like that, right? But someone who's zakat eligible, someone who is barely already making ends meet with respect to their rent and food expenses, and then they have mental health concerns on top of that, that becomes unfortunately a very, very last resort for something for them to take care of. They'll leave that to the very end, right? And a lot of times they won't be able to afford that, right? So to be able to subsidize that rate for them is something that we are now, alhamdulillah, working with a couple of organizations in Canada to provide that affordable mental health service to those who really need it, right? And a lot of the times that's a barrier, right? That's a barrier that stands in the way of you and your self-sufficiency, right? If you're not able to get past some of the trauma that you have, depression and the anxiety that you might be facing, unless you get past those things, you won't be able to, flourish and become, a self-sufficient, financially independent individual, right?
That's true.
So that's another thing that we're definitely focusing this year, and a lot of that came about as a result of the pandemic.
Of course. So yes, I know mental health has become a very big discussion point for a lot of charities and a big focus point as well for a lot of other charities as well. And I find that everyone is focusing on that and trying to help people with the daily struggles actually that they're facing. So it is definitely important. Is there anything else that came up during COVID that you guys have added on to your program?
We took a lot of our services online actually. So,
Yes,
you know,
of course.
as a zakat organization, we do collection and distribution of zakat. So those are
Yeah.
the two main things. But we also provide two other things. One is the calculation service. So these are tools that we've created that are both online and in person to be able to help people calculate their zakat. Right? A lot of people
Oh.
have a lot of
How do people
different types of
access
needs.
that? How do people
Yeah.
access the calculation? Because maybe a lot of people
So
don't know how much zakat they're supposed to give, right? Like
yeah.
they know the amount, but they don't know how to calculate it.
Yeah, that's right. So we have an online calculator that's very simple to use, very easy to use. And we got a lot of feedback that it's a little too simple. So we
Okay.
created a little bit more advanced one. So we have a simple one and an advanced one, which is coming up just in April now, inshallah. Right before Ramadan, we'll be launching that
Yes.
one. In addition to that, we have a one-on-one sort of calculation service or zakat consultation service. So people can reach us through the website or they can email us, they can give us a call, and we'll connect them with them or someone from our community, like a local imam or a sheikh, will connect to them, sit with them, and figure out what are their zakat needs. What are the assets look like? What are some of their
Yeah.
liabilities? Put that into the calculator and figure out what the zakat due is.
That's amazing. So anybody can access that calculator. You don't
Oh
have
yeah,
to
absolutely.
be. It's free for
It's free to
anybody who
use.
wants to know how much zakat they're supposed to be paying, right?
Absolutely, yeah,
Because
absolutely. It's a
sometimes I
free to
know
use
people.
calculator.
Yeah, people are not sure because they have a mortgage of their house, so they're thinking, do I pay, what's paid off of the house, or well, you don't pay zakat on the house that you live in, right? So a lot of people don't
That's
even
right.
know that. Yeah, maybe
That's
we
right.
need to
Yeah,
do
the
a
house.
whole interview about zakat because there's a lot of
Actually, I was
youngsters
coming.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was actually coming to that, right? So one of the services we provide is a full zakat course. It's a
okay,
seminar. We break it up into two parts. One is the spiritual components of zakat.
yeah,
The other one's the more practical components of zakat. And we conduct these seminars throughout the year, but especially during Ramadan. We
yeah,
talk a lot about how to give your zakat on properties, how to give your zakat on business,
yeah,
zakat on investments, zakat on jewelry and gold and silver, right? And
yeah.
these are pressing issues. We have people ask these questions all the time.
They do.
So this is our educational component and the education service that provide. All of that has been taken online now. We do webinars throughout the year, and we conduct one-on-one consultation services. Zakat calculators on the website.
Yeah.
We have recently published a new zakat guide as well. It's a simple zakat guide that you can go through, and it will answer most of your questions about what is zakat, who pays it, and who receives
Yeah.
it, and how do I go about calculating it.
Yeah, because there's a lot of questions. I know a lot of women have that question too, because some say if it's gold that's just sitting in your safety box and you're not actually using it, you don't have to pay zakat on it. Or I think it's the one that you're using daily, that's the one you don't have to pay zakat on. It's the other way
Yeah,
around, right? Exactly. There's so
yeah.
many
But
questions
there,
that people have.
and there's also difference of opinion in there as well, so you have to
Yes.
take that into account. So if you look at the Hanafi madhab versus the
Yeah.
Shafi'i madhab, there's some differences with respect to zakat on jewelry that you wear
Yeah.
versus zakat on jewelry that you don't wear, or any gold that you don't use, right? Like a
Right.
gold bar, a gold coin, that's not something you wear necessarily. It sits in
No.
a bank somewhere, right?
Exactly.
So
That's good to know. That's amazing. So how do people access that course if they're interested?
So we will be advertising them on our website. So we have an
Okay.
event section on the website. They can access through there. We, put them on our Facebook and Instagram as well. So
Yeah.
at NZF Canada, people can find us there and sign up and register for the event that's coming up. They can also subscribe to our email newsletter. So
Yeah.
every month we will send out a newsletter and tell people about all the events that are upcoming for that particular month. And so there's a lot of different ways you can access that
There is,
material.
yeah.
And if you've missed something, you can always go to our Facebook page and watch a seminar that was conducted previously.
Oh, that's good to know as well. So now let's talk about Ramadan. What do you have planned for Ramadan? It's just around the corner. Anything special?
Right. Yeah, Ramadan is very special for all of us, right?
Yes.
And it's very busy. It's a very busy season.
It is.
So, we're going to be, working as best as we possibly can with our community, our supporters, people who donate to us from one year to the next, giving them these zakat services, reaching out to them, and asking them if there's anything we can do to help them calculate their zakat. So that's one component, right? But when it comes to actually helping people, right, in Ramadan, we have a few programs. So we're going to be ramping up our food distribution program, the food package delivery program that we spoke about. So we're going to be ramping that up, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, we're launching that in Montreal this Ramadan as well. And we're very close to having some good collaboration there. And inshallah, with your help, perhaps we'll be in Ottawa as well.
Inshallah.
Another thing we'll be doing is, inshallah. So another thing we'll be doing is iftar and sahur meals, right, throughout Ramadan. So there's, a lot of families come to us throughout the year. They're zakat eligible, and even after they get some assistance, they can still be considered zakat eligible or generally considered to be poor or needy. So we'll be facilitating some delivery of iftar and sahur meals to them throughout Ramadan, right? So that's something we'll be doing, inshallah, across the nation. So inshallah, that's in the works as well. And to sort of close it off, at the end of Ramadan, we'll be having the zakat al-fitr, right?
Yes.
So the $10 that everybody pays in zakat al-fitr. So everyone on the day, every Muslim on the day of Eid has something to eat, and they have enough food for themselves and their family. So we'll be taking part in that as well. And our strategy with that is to work with other locally established organizations, right? So we're not here to duplicate anything or create redundancies or reinvent the wheel. We want to work with those who already have the infrastructure in place. They have the vision, they have a community, they have a volunteer base. They just need a little bit of a push and a little bit of funding to get the work done. So inshallah, this is something we did last year, because last Ramadan was also a COVID Ramadan. So this year it looks like it's going to be pretty similar. So inshallah, that's something we're going to be focusing on. So those are some few projects that we're focusing on this Ramadan, and we're going to be fundraising for a lot of these things, obviously, as most organizations fundraise. So zakat is a big thing, and something that people give a lot of time and effort and concentration and focus towards during the month of Ramadan, because they want to take advantage of the increased rewards in paying zakat in this month. So we'll be heavily, inshallah, working with a lot of community members, doing a lot of outreach, advertising, talking about zakah on the different social media platforms and email, to just create that awareness that there are people here in Canada, despite the social welfare system. There are people here that need help. There are people here who are homeless. There are people here who don't have enough to eat. There are people here who cannot pay their rent and are drowning in debt in some cases as well, right? So that awareness piece is something that sort of falls on our shoulders, and we take that responsibility to let the people know, to let the public know that there really is need in Canada. So when you give zakat, give some internationally, but also give some locally as well, right? You don't have to give your zakah all of it in one place. You can split it up. You can split it up amongst many places.
Which sometimes I think it's the best way, right? Exactly.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about, I know you work also with a lot of newcomers as well. So let's talk about that a bit, how you help newcomers.
Yeah, so a majority of the people who come to us, I would say probably around 40%, have been in Canada for less than 2 years, or they are refugee claimants, or they're government-sponsored refugees, and seeking their PR here in Canada. So in bringing help to them, there's a lot of different considerations. One, that they're first of all going through a bit of a culture shock, right? Resettling in a new country, in a foreign country, it can be quite difficult, right? And very stressful. And the second thing is that there's a lot of language barriers, right? Especially, if you're not coming from an English-speaking country, it can be very difficult for you to just uproot and then establish yourself in Canada, get a job, and it takes several
Of
years
course.
to sort of transition. And then at the same time, there can be also mental health and PTSD and trauma and things like that that people are bringing with them that they have to work through as well.
Yeah.
So when it comes with that, we recognize that we're not going to be able to do everything ourselves, right?
No.
We can be good at one thing or maybe two things, but we can't be good at everything. So we have a huge network of resources in our database that we connect our applicants to, right? We started with just a handful, and now, alhamdulillah, we have more than 500 resources, and these are organizations,
Yeah.
government programs, and masjids that have programs in
Yeah.
house, basically
Depending on,
across
I guess,
Canada,
what they need,
right?
right? Yeah, depending on
Exactly,
what they
right.
need. You also help
Yeah,
them, I know, financially with rent. Some of them get stuck with the last month rent or the first month rent, right? You guys help them with
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Grocery
So someone
cards.
who's absolutely. So someone who's like a newcomer, they might be living in a temporary housing until they
Yeah,
find an apartment. And when they do find an apartment, they just need a little bit of help initially to pay off the security deposit or the first and
exactly.
last month's rent, get into a place, maybe some moving expenses, some
Yeah,
household items, etc. And
like
then they're
furniture.
off they go, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
grocery.
that's something we definitely provide.
Exactly. What about if you had a newcomer and they needed someone to co-sign for them?
That's an interesting one. Unfortunately, that's not something we're
I
able to
know.
do, right? It's
Yeah,
because it becomes like a legal obligation upon you
yeah,
as an organization, and so if there's amazing people out there in the community that would come forward and volunteer to co-sign on someone's behalf, that's great.
yeah,
And we've seen that in the past. We've seen that in the past. Someone who referred a friend or a family
yeah.
member maybe co-signed. But as an
Exactly.
organization, that's very difficult. That's a very
It is
difficult one.
difficult, and I don't think it would be fair to the organization, anyways. So that's good to know that how you're helping the community Canada-wide financially, and then now with the perishable food items, you've got iftar, suhoor coming up as well. I think that's amazing. All the work is excellent, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers out there who don't know about National Zakat Foundation have learned a lot today. And please feel free to go to their website, go to Facebook, go to Instagram. We'll be posting everything at the end of the interview. Can you tell us, if people want to volunteer with your organization, how would they do that, and how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so we are going to have a volunteer form on our
Okay.
website. We're just changing a few things on it. But if you want to really reach out to us, most people connect with us either on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
If you're a little old school like me, give us a call, and we'll connect with you, inshallah, and we'll find a place for you to really volunteer your efforts and
Right.
your time to
Yeah.
give back to the community.
Okay, that's excellent. Well, thank you so much, Zaid, for joining us today, and we've learned a lot about your organization and all the great work that you guys are doing out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. So hopefully everybody learned a lot. I know I learned so much about National Zakat Foundation today. The amount of work that they're doing, how they're helping newcomers, refugees, anyone in financial assistance, also any type of mental health help that's needed. He talked about how they help people with rent, with financial, any type of financial assistance that they can help people with. Now even they're providing perishable food items, and they'll be starting in Ramadan, they'll be starting the iftar and the sahur preparations, which is, I believe, it's cooked meals. So do check out their page on Facebook and on Instagram, and please get involved. So they're always looking for volunteers. So until next time, thank you very much.